Welcome back here on KM Activities, the YouTube channel home for the Cass and Manorville Comets. I'm Joel McCall. We're now conducting a second interview. This is a player interview with Gwen Dole. She is a Cass and Manorville girls soccer player. She's a senior, returning from a knee injury. Do want to thank our fine sponsor, KM Telecom. They're our main sponsor for the fall season and provide you with these interviews, so we thank them very much too. Gwen, thank you very much for joining me. Do appreciate it. All right, I know you're nervous because your coach Soderberg, didn't even mention to you. At least Jackson had an opportunity to prepare himself. As Coach Soderberg, I walked into the weight room, the facility that you guys were working out in, and he's like, hey, you have an interview. So I'm glad that you're able to come in here and talk. First of all, I know the girls' soccer season's going pretty well. How about in your eyes? How's things going with the girls?
Yeah, I think it's been going great. We have a young team, so the past years we've been trying to build that up, and I think this year we finally gotten to the point where most of our players have been on the team for probably 2 or 3 years already. So I think it's going to be it's been a great start to the season already. We've had some tough teams, and we're going on to play more, so it's exciting.
You got Lourdes tomorrow, and I'm going to ask
Mhm.
you a little bit about that. But I have you on a lot like Jackson. You're both coming off an injury. It's a very similar story. So tell me about your left knee and going down last year.
Yeah, so I tore my ACL in the first game of last year's season against Park. And I'm honestly not sure how it happened in the moment exactly. It was kind of a blur. All I remember is I walked off the field and we drove right to Mayo from Park, which was just stressful because when I was in the car ride, I was just wondering like what it could be and like just praying that it wasn't actually what it was. But yeah, we got to the hospital and they weren't sure at first, but after a few doctors came in, it was an ACL. So that was August 23rd, and then I decided to wait on surgery because I wanted to be able to do some fun things throughout September because it's a big month. And then I had my surgery October 2nd, I believe.
Okay, and then so after the surgery was over with, what was the next steps? How much rehab did you do? Were you in hard cast? Were you in a walking, basically brace? Is that essentially what they do?
Yeah, so since I only tore my ACL, it didn't affect like pressure. So the day after I had surgery, I went in for another appointment and they basically told me that I should start moving my leg, not necessarily putting pressure on it, but just stretching it out, kind of getting that function back. And at that point, I think I was doing physical therapy about once or twice a week. I would go actually into Rochester, but I had to do it multiple times a day on my own, just basic exercises that would help my knee. And I did physical therapy almost until the time that I was actually cleared. So it was a really long road to recovery. But
What was the date when you officially cleared, and how happy were you?
it was July 31st, and I was so nervous the morning of because, going into it, I wasn't exactly sure. Like, I was confident that I was stronger. But it's nothing is guaranteed. So when I actually did get cleared, I was so happy. And it was just in the nick of time because the season started technically August 1st. So it was just getting right back into it.
Now, I know that Coach Soderberg actually kept you out of, I think, maybe your first two matches of the season, right? And so tell me a little bit about coming back and able to get back on the turf and get back to being what you wanted to be, a soccer player.
So yeah, I sat out the first two games because of a small knee problem. It was just getting back into it. So that was actually really hard, harder than I thought it would be because, ending the season so early last year, I wanted to get as many games as I could. But I knew that would be better in the long run. So my first game playing was actually last Tuesday against Dover Yoda. And it was probably the most fun thing I've done all year. Just like the feeling of being back on the field with my teammates and just knowing that I can help out again in other ways than managing.
Yeah, and I think I asked Jackson the same question was when you got out there and were able to play, did you feel 100% comfortable on your knee?
Actually, I think I did. Like, the brace is always a big adjustment because I do have to wear a pretty decent sized brace all the time when I'm playing. But I had practiced in it a little bit, so I was used to it. And honestly, when I got back on the field, like everything started coming back to me. So I didn't really focus on my leg. I was more focused on what was happening in the game, which was really cool because I had heard tons of other people talk about how they constantly like adjusted their brace, but I think I was pretty comfortable with mine, which is a huge relief, and it doesn't really cause any pain.
Yeah,
So
and when we're covering girls soccer, you're easy to point out. You have the big brace. I know
yeah.
exactly who you are. And you're a senior this year. Obviously, it's a big step going from junior to senior and then missing last year. How have you tried to embrace a leadership role for the girls soccer team?
Well, being a captain last year as well, I was kind of adjusted to it by this year. Although last year I felt like I had more of a role off the field, obviously, and so this year coming in on the field, it's a little more natural for me to be a captain on the field because I can help people out on like where they need to be, and I can cheer them on while I'm on the field with them instead of just from the sidelines, which is always needed, but it's a different feeling knowing that I can actually help other players. So
Okay. Well, let's have some fun. I did this with Jackson as well. Did it with Emily Terry. Terry, we will mention a couple favorites. How about favorite color?
oh, favorite color is teal.
Teal. All
Yeah.
right. So you like my hydro flask over there,
Yeah.
then? That's good. How about favorite food?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'd say mac and cheese.
Homemade mac and cheese. Let's hope it's not out of a
Definitely, yeah.
box, right?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Favorite coach that you've ever had?
Um, yeah, I think Chris would be definitely my
Soderbergh.
favorite. Yeah.
Okay. Celebrity you're most likely to meet or most want to meet?
um, oh, that's a hard one. I haven't really thought about that much. I would say Alex Morgan. That'd be pretty awesome.
All right. Who's that? You have to inform
Oh,
me who that is.
she is one of the U.S. national players for
Okay.
the women's team.
Okay, yeah, I should know that roster. It didn't come to me. All right, perfect. And that's actually what I was going to ask you too. Is your favorite athlete? Is she just your favorite athlete then too?
Yeah, and I mean, so many of the women's players, I can't even choose one. I'd love to meet the whole team, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing about them is that they're so far out there, and they are trying to be examples for the entire country, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, and bringing home gold's never, too bad of a thing, right? And winning the World Cup. All right, let's see. I asked you that. Favorite hobby outside of sports?
Um, hanging out with my friends.
Just hanging out with your
Yeah.
friends. Okay. What would you like to do for your senior year? Is there something specific that you would like to do just as a senior before you leave high school?
My goal this year is honestly just to go to all the games and support my other students and kind of just enjoy the year as much as possible.
Favorite class?
Oh, I'm taking psychology right now, and I really like that.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that's a future for
Yeah.
you. My wife is a neuropsychologist. Psychology's not a bad field to get into. Good money in that too. So that's why I can do this.
Always a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Tell me a little bit about Lourdes. It's coming up tomorrow. It's a big game for you girls, especially in the conference in the Hiawatha Valley. So tell me a little bit about Lourdes and what I can expect tomorrow night.
Lourdes has been one of our biggest competitors ever since I've been in the program, and even since before that, they've always had a really strong team. They do a really well job on the field, and I think that coming up tomorrow, it's going to be a good game. And I think that sometimes we are a little bit nervous to play them just because of how good their reputation is. But I'm hoping tomorrow we'll just get on the field and everything will click, and we'll hopefully come back with a win.
All right, and hopefully you get a goal out of it too, right?
Yeah.
That's always good. All right, Gwen, thank you very much for sitting in the hot seat and talking with me. Do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, that's Gwen Dole then, senior for Casa and Manorville here on KM Activities, the YouTube channel home for the comments. Again, thank you to KM Telecom for being our major sponsor as well. I'm Joel McCall. Thanks for tuning in.